Pause. If you're not addicted yet, it's coming soon to a website near you. Wow, that's a pretty heavy warning from Dr. Anna Lemke over at Stanford University. Hello to all viewers of my channel. Today, we're going to unpack a huge trend that's popped up in response to that exact feeling, the dopamine detox. All right, let's just dive right in. You've probably heard about this, right? The dopamine detox, sometimes called dopamine fasting, has totally blown up, especially in places like Silicon Valley. It's sold as this magic bullet to unplug your brain, hit the reset button, and just escape the madness of modern life. So what's the big promise here? Well, the idea is that if you just stop all these super stimulating things, you can break your dependency on that instant hit of gratification. And the goal? Well, the goal is to get more focus, less anxiety, and actually start enjoying the simple things in life again. But does it really work like that? To really get what this detox is all about, we have to talk about the chemical at the center of it all, dopamine. I mean, why do so many of us feel like we need a hard reset anyway? It really all comes down to the wiring of our brain's reward system. Okay, and this slide right here gets to the absolute core of a massive misunderstanding. We all talk about dopamine like it's the pleasure chemical, right? The thing that makes you feel good. But that's not the full story. In reality, it's the molecule of motivation. It's the chemical messenger that pushes you to go after a reward. It's what tells your brain, hey, pay attention, this is important. And this right here shows you the trap. When you're just endlessly scrolling through social media or playing video games for hours, your brain gets hit with these massive, totally unnatural floods of dopamine. And what does it do to protect itself? It adapts. It downregulates. It basically turns the volume way, way down. Do that enough, and you can end up in what some experts call a chronic dopamine deficit state. And that's when a simple walk in the park just doesn't feel like enough anymore. So you hear all that, and fasting from this chemical sounds like a pretty good idea, doesn't it? Well, this is exactly where the pop culture version of this trend kind of gets the science wrong. Let's separate the facts from the fiction. And here it is, the most important point. You can't actually fast from dopamine, and trust me, you wouldn't want to. Dopamine is absolutely essential for your basic ability to think, to feel motivated, and even just to move your body. So the name dopamine detox, it's just not scientifically accurate. And here's the wild part. Even the guy who came up with the term, Dr. Cameron Sepah, he admits it's not literal. He's a psychologist who said he just came up with it as a catchy name for a specific cognitive behavioral therapy technique. The actual goal was never to get rid of dopamine, but to help people manage their compulsive behaviors, the things that hijack our reward system. Okay, so if dopamine fasting is really just a snappy but misleading name, then what's the real answer here? Well, this brings us to a much more accurate idea that actually has a ton of science behind it. Forget dopamine fasting. Let's talk about the incredible benefits of a digital detox. And the results are, honestly, they're staggering. Check this out. A study led by Georgetown professor Kostadin Kushlev found that a massive 91%, 9 out of 10 people who just reduced their phone use saw real improvements in their well-being, their attention span, or their mental health. Let's dig into those benefits a little more, because they're pretty amazing. In just a 2-week study, people didn't just feel better and less anxious, they actually slept an extra 20 minutes a night on average. But this last one is the real showstopper. The improvement in their ability to focus was so significant, it was like reversing about 10 years of age-related decline. I mean, just think about that for a second. That is huge. So the evidence is pretty undeniable. Taking an intentional break from our screens really, really works. But the good news is you don't have to go live in a cave to get the benefits. This is all about finding smarter, more realistic ways to unplug. And this is the most important thing to remember. The goal here is not some extreme all-or-nothing fast. It's about mindful moderation. You don't have to ditch your smartphone. You don't have to quit the internet. The research shows that even just making small, intentional changes can give you most of the payoff. So how do you actually start? It's really just 4 simple steps. First, just be a detective. Observe your own habits. Which app is your biggest time waster? When do you zone out the most? Second, set some clear rules for yourself, like maybe no phones at the dinner table. Third, and this one is crucial, you have to replace the scrolling with something else. Go for a walk, read a book, anything. And finally, you got to be patient with yourself. Your brain needs time to rewire. And if you want some practical ideas you can start using tonight, here you go. Charging your phone anywhere but your bedroom, that's a total game changer for sleep. Turning off all those pointless notifications, that puts you back in charge of your own attention. And actually scheduling time to be unplugged for a hobby, for exercise, for seeing friends, that helps retrain your brain to find joy in the real world again. So when you boil it all down, this isn't about technology being evil or dopamine being bad. It's just about waking up to the fact that we live in a world that is literally designed to distract us. And so the real question isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. It's about asking yourself, in this crazy world, how are you going to choose to be present? Subscribe to the channel and like, and also suggest your topics for future videos in the comments.